So, good evening, dear viewer. This is more YouTube content for you. Name is Tony Topping, and this is the secret world of UFOs, a little blog that I do for my YouTube channel, due to popular demand, due to a lot of people wanting to take a look at what I do, and so I can do a narrative to camera as well, which is a good thing. And I like to just give my thoughts on things that are happening with me in the world of, in my secret world of UFOs. If you've just dropped by on me and are new to my material, I'm well known actually among the people of my research field. I'm well known. I'm a bit of a lone wolf as well. Don't always go with the flow. But if you're new to my material, I'm a man who's a covert witness to some very strange goings-on involving unidentified flying objects. And the fact that they don't come from round here, some of these unidentified flying objects come from other galaxies. And there's a big secret cover-up about all this, which I'm part of, bizarrely enough, through no fault of my own. And I've been targeted, filmed by unmarked helicopters, targeted by the most strangest of people who we would class as spooks or spies. And I have been targeted and was, from the years 1999 to 2005, heavily targeted with all kinds of high-tech targeting technology, to put it simply. The moment you probably see in the media, Glenn Greenwald's done an excellent article on The Intercept regarding Edward Snowden wanting to come home to America and face trial. And what I say about all this is that there is a surveillance state out there that is monitoring our phones, that is tapping our emails. But there's a secondary tier above that that should give cause for concern for everyone, that is neurally monitoring people. I know I have been one of them, but I've been strong enough to fight it off. And if you are an individual who has contact with UFOs in the United Kingdom, for example, not all countries, but the UK being one, you will be watched and monitored closely. And that's what happened to me with some very unsavoury people. And so that's the very basic background, and you'll see my website is tonytopping.co.uk. That's the very basic background to it. Needless to say that the surveillance technology could be as such that they can test it to tell me to say things to camera remotely. The technology is very advanced to invade and monitor the human mind. It is there. They dumb down the benefits they dumb down the shortcomings while bigging up the benefits and tell you that the surveillance technology of the human mind is not developed yet. It's miles off, they'll tell you. That's not correct. But that's all another story, and I think I'll do a separate blog on mind control. Actually, what this story is all about tonight is about me going out and about doing the UFO stuff, filming UFOs. And I have to say, as I always do to you, the viewer, that to tell you on camera that everything's rosy in the garden with it, and it's the best thing since sliced egg, and it's a great thing to be involved with it. At this level that I'm in, it isn't really. It can ruin lives. You can become very obsessed with it, and it can become this all-encompassing thing to do, as I did. And if you've got a camera, it's even more lethal. Now, what I'm doing is I'm doing a narrative for you. For when I'm out and about filming UFOs. I've been involved in the game for a number of years, and so when I'm out and about, I know what's what and what isn't. And I specifically have had incidents with UFOs where, in fields, for example, where they've turned up these little dots of light UFOs, and it's been like the gunfight at the OK Corral. That's another story as well. It's not, tonight I just want to cover something. Now, what happens is sometimes when you're out filming, as in what you're going to see, I didn't film anything tonight, it was too high. Something did come over, but it was too high. And that leads you to suspect, why was it too high? It was a UFO, there's no doubt about it. There was aeroplanes with the civil aviation strobing sequence, satellites, but this thing came in again, as it has done in the past, at speed. Good 3,000 feet in the air. But being once again elusive, not wanting to be filmed. So that should set the alarm bells ringing if you're out there, one of these people on a skywatch, if something is not wanting to be filmed. It was there, it was as clear as day, but it was too high up for me to actually film it. And it brings me to an interesting question, because these dots of light, these little dots of light UFOs, have been following me for quite an hour, quite a a while now. And it's interesting to note when you're out filming them, as I was in years ago. I've just started doing it again now. I've got to be careful I don't go too overboard with it. But years ago I was filming, and I noticed this strange anomaly. These dots of light UFOs would turn up, only to be chased away by other UFOs of a different type, chase them off, which I found very strange. And only recently, in 2014, last year, in when was it? Summer. Was it September or August? Maybe September or August. We were going to York in my mate's van, and we went near the Cross Keys pub in Stillingfleet. And it's interesting because what we saw coming towards us was shaped like a Vulcan bomber. It looked like the shape of one of those Vulcan bomber craft, and I thought, oh, because it had the distinctive gunmetal grey look as well. And I thought, how very interesting. That's that's look at that. Is it a plane? And it turned out it wasn't a plane. And there was a guy in front of us in a car who tried to stop his car to try and film it, but he drove off. He obviously couldn't get it in time, and neither could we. And this thing came in near this field, near the Cross Keys pub at Stillingfleet, and it came in close, and it was like some sort of drone that was gunmetal grey with this unusual configuration underneath it. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, it wasn't from round here. It was from somewhere else. It's almost as if you were looking at some Doctor Who style contraption that had been just plunged into some sort of time machine and appeared in our dimension. That was my initial thoughts on it. And it turned on a sixpence, and it had a shape. It was smaller than a Vulcan bomber, a lot smaller. It was like a drone of some description. And it turned very easily. You see, why do a wide turn? Why bother doing a turn from point A to B? You see the aircraft that we've got, and they turn at certain angles, don't they? And they have to do a circle to turn. Why do that? Why not turn where you want to go from point A to point B quite easily, which these UFOs, their manoeuvrability can do? Why make it hard? The technology can do that. Now, it brought up some interesting thoughts for me as this thing flew off at tremendous speed, and it was this gunmetal grey contraption that didn't look like something we would make, and it didn't look like a human-looking drone thing. It frankly looked, what's the word? Dated yet high-tech. Could you get that? Dated yet high-tech. That's what I thought it was. It was the bulb underneath it, this configuration underneath it. By God, did it go at some speed. And it brought me to looking on the internet, as a matter of interest for you all, to look at something called the Friends incident in Italy on the Adriatic coast in the 1950s. Some humanoid-looking aliens turned up there at a village just off the Adriatic coast. The book's called Mass Contacts, by the way. Get it on Amazon or look it up on the internet. And I'll put a link in the YouTube channel for you about it all. And it resembled one of their kind of craft, actually. I've seen photos from the 1950s of one of these boomerang-type gunmetal grey-looking things. And it just resembled one of those. And I found that absolutely fascinating. And so I hazard a guess that the dot of light that flew over tonight, high up, and unfortunately I didn't get it, and I'm not going to bullshit you and film something that I didn't get, and I'm certainly not going to insert clips with CGI and claim that I filmed something when I didn't. It's all about just keeping the narrative running, and you, the broadcaster, or you, the viewer, getting a feel of what goes on. Can I honestly say that I enjoy doing it? No, I find it's a chore of work for me now. I've done it that many years that it's just painful doing it. But what I want to do for you is get a real decent shot of the UFOs that I want to get. And I know exactly what I'm looking for when I see it, so that all of you can go, oh my God, that's just amazing. And it needs to be amazing. It needs to be of the highest standard, and that's why I'm taking the time to do it. But in the meantime, while I'm stood there doing that, we've got these dots of light things flying around, all kinds of crazy paranormal goings on, in the pursuit of trying to get that killer piece of footage of a decent UFO. The best piece of footage I never took, was when I was at my place of work a few years ago on a break, 3 in the morning. And this thing, it was a boomerang shape, just appeared from nowhere and flew directly over me. And it was a boomerang. And it went and it glided. It was just gracefully glided across the sky. Very low, and I mean nearly 500 to 700 feet over me. That's the kind of shot I'm looking for. And that'll probably happen, I think. Well, I know. I'm quite confident that that will happen. But I have to say that it can be an obsession. It can be an all-encompassing, burning obsession to find out more. And that's where I think we as researchers have got to be cautious that it doesn't take over our lives in a negative way. Unfortunately, I'm resigned to my fate on that issue. I've been since about 1999 with it. So there you go. So we're looking for that. So this is like a briefing, really. So the thing that flew over me tonight was, I believe, pilotless, and I believe was a drone of some description, and I do believe was not from round here, but it was very high. It was very high, and I think it's the same thing that we saw during the day at Cross Keys. In fact, if I can get one of them on film, that will be equally fascinating, which is why during the day is the best. So I think, going to spend about an hour of my time during the week, just a couple of hours during the week, just out and about filming, to try and get this really good shot on camera of what I want, and I will get it. It's just going to take a bit of patience and knowing the lay of the land as well. I would suggest to people who are going out filming UFOs just for the fun of it on what's called Skywatch is not to go alone late at night. I'd strongly advise that. I really would. But it's yeah, it's a strange environment when one of these things turns up, because the whole area goes silent around you. There'll be cars and traffic going by, and all of a sudden the world goes into a vacuum of silence, and then bang. And you'll hear them as well. Occasionally you can hear them as well as see them. But we're not here to do pony tricks. That's a very specialised and personal thing. And it's not something that can be ridiculed as far as I'm concerned. There are people out there who, in Peru, India, even in the UK, Russia, America even, having contacts with these UFOs quite routinely. I don't think it's something to be mocked, It's not something to be mocked at all. Anyway, so that's basically it. I think I've given you a lot of research items there just to have a look at, and I'll put the link in for the Italian UFO thing. And if I can get that thing, what we saw at Stillingfleet a few months ago, in broad daylight, what I saw, that will be amazing, wouldn't it? Absolutely awesome if we can do that. It'll be awesome. I say we as in the collective, we as in you, the viewer, and me. And if we can get the killer shots that I require, the killer piece of footage that I want, and I know what I'm after, then we'll get that as well, which is a benefit. So this is me, out and about, filming UFOs, and I'm going to be taking you to a location where I had a UFO incident a few years ago. Sadly, tonight we didn't film anything, but something did turn up. I will reinstate again. I'm not going to film something if it's not there, and I'm not going to BS people and pretend I'm something I'm not with it all. Of course, that's not where it is at. Frankly, I should have been in the pub having a pint this evening. My friends would think I must be bloody nuts not to have done that. But I was in, I wanted to do it, and I wanted to just get the filming up and running again. Wiser for it, wiser for past events on these issues. So enjoy, ladies and gentlemen. This is Tony Topping, The Secret World of UFOs, Episode 2, over and out. This is the location, ladies and gentlemen, and as you can see, it's near what's called the Selby's newest bridge in the town of Selby, North Yorkshire. As you can see, you just pan around there, and it's at this location a few years ago where I had an incident with a UFO in the middle of this field here, roughly just about where that tree is on the right. It hovered, more to the middle of the field. It actually hovered looking at me, good 1,000 feet, just staring at me, and I was staring back at it, and it was like something out of the OK Corral. And to our left is obviously Drax power station, the biggest power station in Europe that's actually had a number of UFO incidents. Staff from the power station tell me that it's had its strange incidents with UFOs flying over it, which maybe isn't surprising considering it's the biggest power station in Europe. So we're going to sit tight, ladies and gentlemen. We're just going to wait and see what turns up, if at all. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know. Just apologise for the poor background lighting. We're out in the field at the moment now. what's happened is it's been about an hour and a half, and we've had something fly over. Now, this is what it is it's how can I explain it to you as the viewer? What we've had fly over is quite high up. It's quite bright. It's a dot of light, but it was too high up for it to be filmed. That's not quite what I'm looking for. I know exactly what I'm looking for, and it's not turned up yet. And this is an occupational hazard of going out filming, in that something will turn up, but it'll become elusive. You will be unable to actually film it, which is what's just happened. There's not even any point in actually showing it to you, because it'll just be blank. You won't really see it. So I'm still waiting. It's just flown over, and it's just heading towards Barlby. It's a bright dot, and they're normally... there's some sort type of anomaly. We're going to see if it'll come round again and circle, maybe get a bit closer, see if it'll just illuminate itself as it flies over. If it does, then we've filmed something that is a UFO. If it doesn't, then the night's not been a good one tonight. We've not really seen anything. But what we're doing is we're just giving you an insight into what goes on. In the early days, I used to be quite obsessive, thinking that anything and everything that moved would be a UFO. But what we're doing is we're just trying to find out, just ascertain the lay of the land in this area. It's the same type of UFO that a few years ago stood in this field facing me, and it's just flown over me now. I'm respectful of it, because I know they're about it. That's because it probably doesn't want to be filmed. If it wanted to be filmed, it would be. So we'll just stick around a bit longer, boys and girls, and just see what happens. Well, I'm just leaving the area, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a no-show tonight, really, but this is what happens. This is what goes on. Things can happen and things don't happen. There has been something turn up. There was no point in me filming it, but it's all part of the game. And a few years ago, as I say, I used to be out on a regular basis doing all this. I'm trying not to make it too regular. I frankly should be in the pub having a pint. But the point of all this is to give you, the viewer, a narrative of what's happening and the lay of the landscape when, I suppose you could call me a professional like myself, is out and about trying to capture these anomalies on film. Yeah, so there's this strange feeling of being watched as well. As I'm walking away from the location, this strange feeling of being watched. And even as I'm heading home, I could even film something then. So what we're doing is we keep this narrative running to see where it leads, is what I'm doing. So, and I don't think that's a pointless exercise, to see where it leads. So over and out for now, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll see what happens next. This is Tony Topping.